Hello everybody, welcome back to the new video. In that video, we're going to discuss the impact of the Middle East conflict in India. If we closely monitor the current ongoing Middle East conflict, we will find it is showing no signs of stopping the war. The war is escalating day by day and it is expanding and spreading in the other parts of the world. Whether it is USA, Iran or Israel, none of them is interested in diplomatic dialogue and peaceful solution to end the war. But if we see the Iranian side of the story, it has clearly given a message to the United States. And the message is it is not going to stop until the United States promises that it will not intervene in the Middle East and it will close all the bases located in the Middle East region. If we analyze the entire chain of events and the present situation, we can clearly conclude the unrest will now continue further and the impacts are now going to change the world entirely. And the most shocking part is it is already visible on the ground. For instance, the crude oil prices have skyrocketed, Europe and Asia are facing LNG and LPG shortage, global economy is collapsing, and the share markets are experiencing a bloodbath. It means the ongoing war has not only affected this particular region but also sent shockwaves of disruption in other parts of the world. But the question is, how did we reach to that point where we are literally facing a situation which can lead to World War III? And how is it impacting the India? Let's understand in detail. But first, let's start with the beginning of the conflict. If we understand the beginning of the conflict, we will find the Middle East crisis erupted after the United States and Israel conducted a large coordinated attack on Iran. These strikes were launched on 28th February 2026. The United States named its mission Operation Epic Fury and Israel called its mission Operation Lion's Roar. Under this attack, the United States and Israel targeted Iran's important nuclear sites, ballistic missile facilities, and military and defense infrastructure located across the country. And the major change had happened when the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei was killed in this airstrike. This chain of events finally led to an escalation of conflict in the Middle East region. As a response to the attack, Iran retaliated by targeting Israel directly and attacking US bases located in the Gulf region. Under this retaliation, Iran destroyed the US bases located mainly in UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Jordan. In addition to that, Iran also officially announced a closure of Strait of Hormuz for the American ally countries but kept it open for the friendly countries. The response from the Iran has clearly given a message to the United States. Targeting Iran is not going to be a easy go like Venezuela. But if we observe all of this chain of events, we will find the closure of the Strait of Hormuz was one of the significant changes in the Middle East region. To understand the significance of the Strait of Hormuz, let's understand why the Strait of Hormuz is important for the world. If we observe the geographic location of the Strait of Hormuz, we will find the Strait of Hormuz is one of the geostrategically important choke points in the Middle East region. It is a 33-kilometer narrow sea route which connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. It is located at the south of Iran, to the north of Oman and the United Arab Emirates. It is a crucial waterway for all of the surrounding oil-rich countries because they are heavily dependent on this sea route for their oil export. And if we observe the role of the Strait of Hormuz in the global economy, we will find the world's 20% global oil supply passes through that narrow waterway. It is almost 1/5 of total global oil consumption. Approximately 21 million barrels of oil per day pass through that waterway. In addition to that, a large volume of gas passes through that route, which includes approximately 20% liquefied natural gas and 30% LPG of the world's total trade. Therefore, the Strait of Hormuz is a critical energy lifeline for the global economy. But if we observe the conflict, it gets more worse for India. because it has disrupted the oil supply and created LPG cylinder crisis in India, weakened the Indian rupee, and led to collapse of Indian share markets. Now let's understand them in detail. Disruption of oil supply. After the beginning of the war, Iran officially announced a closure of Strait of Hormuz after the escalation of the conflict in the region. And it was one of the major change for the global economy, especially for India. Because after blocking this choke point, the global economy is undergoing a massive change because this disruption has affected the global energy sector. This blockade by Iran has disrupted crude oil supply from the region. As a result, oil prices have shot up in the global market and crossed a mark of $100 per barrel, which is making it one of the historic highs. It has started increasing India's import bill already, and soon this oil price surge will create market volatility in the domestic market. Talking about the India's response, India somehow managed to get oil supply by diversifying the crude oil import from the Middle East to Russia. It will help India to secure and fulfill its oil supply. However, industrial diesel prices have seen a gain by nearly 25%, which has impacted sectors like logistics, mining, and manufacturing. Moreover, after the increase in aviation turbine fuel cost, international flight fares have increased about 15% by the airlines. The energy uncertainty has created a fear of inflation, which might cause damage to the global markets. Now let's talk about the LPG cylinder crisis. If we observe the LPG supply, we will find India is facing a severe LPG shortage due to the ongoing Middle East conflict. A sudden shortage of LPG cylinders is hurting Indian households, restaurants, and other small businesses. If we observe the consumption, we will find India primarily consumes about 31.3 million tons of LPG every year, and nearly 80% of it is used in the household kitchens. Talking about the ground reality, people are queuing up in front of gas agencies for cylinders and struggling to get the access. The shortage is mainly impacting the middle class and lower middle class households. The story doesn't end here. Hotels are trimming their menus, people are shutting their small tea stalls and hotels. Moreover, a black market of cylinders has emerged where the LPG cylinders are being sold for 1,500 to 5,000 rupees. To deal with the situation, the government has invoked the Essential Commodities Act and ordered oil refineries to increase LPG production. In India, oil marketing companies such as Indian Oil and Bharat Petroleum, which together provide around 40% of India's LPG requirement, have been instructed to prioritize domestic consumers. But the ground reality is people are still struggling to get the LPG cylinders. Amid the crisis, India obtained the permission from Iran to let the stranded LPG vessels pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but only few of them could pass through the region. India is still engaged in dialogue with Iran for the remaining vessels to pass, but let's see how long it takes to complete the deal. Now let's discuss one of the major impacts of the Middle East crisis, that is weakening of the Indian rupee. Since the eruption of this conflict, Indian currency has faced a hard hit on its value because Indian rupee has recorded a historic fall against the US dollar. It has crossed 93 rupees per US dollar, burdening India's forex reserves and making energy supply more expensive for India. Experts say if the escalation continue to grow, it is going to create a huge economic collapse and disruption for the world. And if we closely monitor the situation, it can be already seen on the ground. After the weakening of Indian rupee, India's spending of foreign currency, specifically dollar, have increased dramatically. It means now India will have to pay more US dollars for the same amount of oil. As a result, it will increase the current account deficit. Now let's discuss the impact of the crisis in India's share market. Since the eruption of the Middle East conflict, global markets, including Indian market, are experiencing a bloodbath. The Indian share markets have lost approximately 50 lakh crore rupees since the conflict started. The Sensex and Nifty have plunged by over 1500 points, wiping out a huge amount of money from the market. That has resulted in huge turmoil in the market, making investors panic and forcing them to withdraw their money. It has negatively impacted the industries like banking and finance, aviation, logistics, and IT services. On the other side, some industries such as defense and renewable energy saw a positive jump. After understanding the whole scenario, we can conclude that the growing tensions between these countries have disrupted the entire West Asia and turned the region into destabilized and vulnerable hostile territory. And if the situation continues further, it might create socio-economic and political challenges for the entire world.